The reigning Big 12 champs, a phrase we all expected to say in September, don't have that many big questions. Really, just the one big question. And I already know that answer. I don't know what else they have to answer, though. Richie Bradshaw, Locked On Sun Devils, is here to discuss the latest. He was at spring practice for ASU earlier this week. So the big question for Arizona State, Richie, is how do they replace a one Cameron Skattebo? Well, I already know that answer. They bring in Kanye Udo from Army. They've got a couple guys on the roster already. I think they'll be fine there. What's the biggest question Arizona State has to answer, or is this Big 12 championship or bust?
I don't know if I'd go Big 12 championship or bust. I think this is a Sun Devils team that's just looking to run it back. And in the terms of like, hey, this isn't a Cinderella team. We're still a 9-win football team. We're still a 10-win football team. That's going to be a consistently good program that will flirt with winning the conference on a year-to-year basis. I don't know if you're ready for the conference championship or bust situation yet. Maybe if you win it, like, God forbid, like 3 straight years, yeah, that's probably the standard at that point. You're looking for the biggest question on this team right now, and it is replacing key contributors. So, yeah, how do you replace Cam Skattebo? You gotta have a group of guys that can do it. But how do you replace Shamari Simmons, who was one of the most instrumental defensive players for the Sun Devils? In case you don't remember who he is, let me remind you, the first play of the second half against Texas, he sent Jalen Blue to the shadow realm, and Quinn Ewers was smart enough to grab the football and take a safety in the end zone. Shamari was good. How do you replace him? Okay, that's a big one. How do you replace other big contributors throughout the team? You've got to replace a all-conference center in Leif Otanu. You've got to replace one of your top tacklers in Caleb McCullough. So there are very important players that are gone from very important positions that you have to find guys to replace them. And there's a lot of youth movement on this team. They've attacked the transfer portal in previous years, but this is the year I think you're going to see the recruiting classes from the last 2 to 3 years of Kenny Dillingham. Can they step into those roles?
Richie, I think you're the first host on this show to imply that you would like God to forbid Arizona State to win 3 straight Big 12 championships. I would like for you
put it out there.
I would like for you to elaborate on why you don't want them to do it. Can you just not handle the pressure down there in Tempe? You guys know what it means to crank up the heat. You do it every summer.
Oh, no, Spencer, I'm just doing good old-fashioned reverse psychology. If I had some salt in my hand, I'd throw it over my shoulder. I got a horseshoe out there, and we're doing a rain dance later because it's getting hot out here in the desert.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was...
I forgot to wink when I said
you
that.
Did.
So.
You did. I was a little caught off guard. Yeah. A good old wink like that I could have informed the audio listeners about.
I was going to say, for the people who can't see, it's like, Trust me, it was incredibly obvious.
Yes. Well, the second time it was, the first time not so much. But when you look at Arizona State, they're one of the top 2 teams in the Big 12 next year in terms of Big 12 championship odds. I think they're very deserving of that. You got Jordan Tyson back at receiver with his pal Sam Levitt. Those two,
healthy, by the way.
Yes, and those two are incredibly tight. They're also very good. I want to go to this ASU offensive line, Richie, because Skattebo was otherworldly. He was in another dimension at times. He was in the twilight zone when it came to breaking tackles and not just getting an extra 3 or 4 yards. He'd stay on his feet when most guys would have gone down and break 40-yard runs regularly. So to me, I like the talent in that Arizona State backfield. I look at that offensive line and say, you're going to have to be even better than last year if you want to get the Sun Devils back to the playoff.
Yeah, and the thing that I like about this offensive line coming back is there's actual continuity. In the 3 years that Kenny Dillingham has been here, they've been remaking the offensive line, and they bring in graduate players who are only here for a year. But then you've got players that are injured and they can't get on the field, and it's led to a lot of inconsistency. And it goes back before Kenny. There was that problem with Herm Edwards for a minute where they just could not get any consistency on the offensive line. The first year of Kenny Dillingham had a different starting 5 offensive linemen in all 12 games. That was not the case this past season.
I want to say that stat again just so everyone makes sure they heard you correctly.
In Kenny Dillingham's first year, 2023, They played 12 games. They went 3-9. They had a different starting five for their offensive line in every single game.
Okay.
That's pretty crazy. But then you look at this past year, and they have some competitions to start the year, left tackle and guard. But halfway through the year, you knew what your starting lineup was, and they got better as the season went on. Now you go up against Texas, and yeah, they got bullied because that's a lot of NFL players, but they gelled pretty well. You are returning 4 of your 5 starters. You do lose, I mentioned, all Big 12 center Lee Fotonu. That is a huge loss. They're moving one of the honorable mention all Big 12 players, Ben Coleman, who played guard, moving him to center. They are playing around with the unit, but they've got a lot of guys that are returning, a lot of guys with a lot of snaps and familiarity with each other. Your right tackle's been there for 3 years. Your right guard is in his second. I think he's in his 3rd year too. There's guys who know how to work with each other right now. And Cam Skattebo made them look better sometimes last year, because there were times where he was running into walls and then he somehow was making plays out of it. Towards the end of the season, when they started to figure it out, they were able to provide some confidence. And again, the last thing we saw was against Texas, and they got their butt whooped, which is the unfortunate way that we remember them. But if they can find someone to step up at left guard, because now Ben Coleman's moving to center, and you obviously need Coleman to transition well, I trust their tackles, and their right guard, I think, is very, very good. Offensive line, it's just that continuity, Spencer, and it's continuity with good football players.
I want to throw something at you to wrap today's show, because I've discussed, I won't say I've beat this drum, I've lightly tapped it on the show.
I know it's coming.
Here in the last couple of weeks. Are you scared of going to Starkville to play Mississippi State?
Oh, that's not what I thought.
What did you think I was going to say?
I know you're going to ask. We'll get to it. Am I scared of going to Starkville? I don't think I am overly intimidated. Like, I don't look at it like you're going to Tuscaloosa or South Bend or something like that.
Right.
But you are going into the Deep South, where SEC football is a religion. And Mississippi State, sure, they were god-awful last year. They haven't been this dominant team recently. Spencer, you remember the first ever college football playoff poll that ever came out? You know who number 1 was? Mississippi State.
With Dak Prescott and Dan Mullen. Mm-hmm. I do.
That's a good football program that is on some hard times, and they gave ASU some fits last year. I am with you. I think they're going to be better this year. I still take ASU in that game, but that's going to be a crazy environment. And unlike Tempe, who said no cowbells at this game, everyone's going to have a cowbell. I think the Mississippi State beat writers that are in the press box will have a cowbell with them.
They'll just violate press box rules and norms and just take them up there and just...
They hand them out to you. That's your ticket. Your ticket.
Yeah, this is your ticket. Your credential's actually inside of the bell. You pull it to activate the noise that can be generated. My take with them is that's an early opportunity for Jeff Lebby to get a statement win to his locker room and to the community, to his administration, that, hey, we're going in the right direction here. You beat the reigning Big 12 champs. Yeah. I think they're going to be highly motivated. They are at home. It was a tight game last year. I think Mississippi State will be a better team. I think Arizona State will be really good. I think that's one of the more fun, under-the-radar non-conference games we will see in 2025. Richie Bradshaw, Locked On Sun Devils. Great. As always, my man, I appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.